I welcome you to our monthly broadcast at Anselmo Academy of Music and the Arts and greatly appreciate you tuning in support of this initiative. Today we present Sandro Russo, Italian-born concert pianist, recording artist, and esteemed pedagogue. Welcome, Sandro. Please say hello.
Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for having me here.
It's our honor to have you here with us today. You just heard an excerpt of Scriabin Etude Opus 42, number 5, performed by Sandro. We will later feature our guest bio, pictures, videos, and a dialogue. But first, we have a few announcements from Anselmo Academy. We have multiple student recitals scheduled in Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, New Jersey, and we invite all interested guests to attend. There is free admission, so please do contact us and let us know if you plan on attend. There are still some that are happening for Brooklyn at the end of May and early June. We would love to see you there. Next, we have summer lessons that we are opening up registrations for. Summer semester enrollment is very flexible, meaning that you can sign up for any number of lessons, and we're running an early bird special. If you register for 10 lessons by June 1st, you get your 11th lesson free. And all lessons must be completed by Labor Day, which is the first weekend in September. Um, and all other interested students for summer can sign up by June 15th, and that will be flexible number of lessons, anywhere from 3 to 5 to any number, as long as they are all completed by end of August. Wonderful. Anselmo Academy is a nonprofit 501c3 organization. We are celebrating our 25th year anniversary. Our exact birthday is June 5th, so it's coming up. We specialize in organizing group classes at local schools and communities throughout New York, all boroughs, including Staten Island, New Jersey, Rockland County, Westchester. And our group classes vary greatly from large type of music appreciation classes, general music, to small group classes and piano, violin, guitar, recorder, choir, musical theater, and more. And if you know a school or organization that doesn't have a music program, we would love to hear more about it and get connected and for future collaborations. Please subscribe to our social media platforms and subscribe to our two e-newsletters that you can find on our home page at anselmoacademy.org. Our first e-newsletter is called Academic Newsletter, where we feature all our ongoing classes, new teachers, staff, etc. Second newsletter is called On Stage, that comes out over the third week of every month, where we feature upcoming events, recitals, master classes, etc. And we feature events just like you see one today, where we invite guest artists from all around the world to share the musical journey. We hope you enjoy our program today. Wonderful. Can we please have Sandro's photo on the screen as I go through his bio, please? Sandro Russo playing has often been described as a throwback to the grand tradition of elegant pianism and beautiful sound. Abby Simon praised him as an artist with his fingertips, musical, intuitive, and a master of the instrument. And composer Lowell Lieberman wrote, Sandro Russo is a musician and a pianist. There is no technical challenge too great for him, but it's his musicianship that ultimately makes the greatest impression. His interpretations reveal a unique and profound artist at work. He has also gained attention for his extensive repertoire that is comprised not only of well-known masterpieces from all periods, and also of rarities of the piano literature, works by Schifra, Sharabi, Mark Andre Hamlin, Laura Libelman, Paul Moravec, and other composer pianists have enthralled music lovers from around the world. Born in San Giovanni Gemini, or Gemini, not sure how to say it, Italy, Mr. Russo displayed exceptional musical talent from an early age. He later entered the Bellini Conservatory in Palermo, now the Scarlatti Conservatory, from which he graduated summa cum laude and carried the pianoforte performing diploma from the Royal College of Music in London with honors. Soon after moving to the United States in 2000, he won the Bergen Philharmonic Orchestra Concerto Competition and has since performed in much prestigious concert halls like Weill and Zanken Halls at Carnegie Hall, Kilburn Hall, Eastman Theater, Moore's Opera House, the Concertbouw in Amsterdam, Salcorto in Paris, Teatro Politeama in Palermo, the Concert House in Berlin, and Stoller Hall in Manchester, UK. His recitals include performances for the Rachmaninoff Society, the Dame Myra Hess Series in Chicago, the American Liszt Society, the Houston International Piano Festival, and many more around the world. He has appeared as a soloist with the Slovak Philharmonic in Bratislava, the Jacksonville Symphony in Florida, and the Brussels Chamber Orchestra in the opening gala of the Music Festival of the Hamptons. He has also toured with the Orchestra Sinfonia Siciliana in performance of Rachmaninoff Third Piano Concerto. It was the featured soloist with the New York Asian Symphony on a tour of Japan. He is also a sought-after collaborator, having recently performed with the world-renowned soprano Sumi Jo in her sold-out 40th anniversary concert at Carnegie Hall. In addition to his piano career, Sandro is an accomplished organist and appeared in multiple halls. But I do want to mention that he created a unique project across the country featuring Franz Liszt, two Weimar masterpieces, the piano sonata in B minor and the organ piece called Come to Us to the Ways of the Salvation. So it was a piano organ double bill recitals that he created. Mr. Russo piano discography includes the albums Scarlatti Recreated, Russian Gems, Images Mirage, a homage DBC, Chopin late masterpieces, and Rachmaninoff solo piano works. The last three of which were released on Steinway and Sons label. These recordings have drawn rave reviews from major classical magazines such as the Italy Classic Voice and Gramophone. In May 2024, Steinway released to critical acclaim Sandro's recording of Franz Liszt 12 Transcendental Etudes. His performances have been featured on major radio stations in the US and abroad. And Sandro Russo is a Steinway artist. Wonderful. Now we proceed with some of the excerpts of the master classes that we have received from Sandro. First one is Chopin Polonaise Fantasy. Take a look.
Excellent, excellent what you do in terms of piano playing. Just a couple of things. Here, notice that these accents are very important. So I will insist a little bit more on those accents. Now here, this is a also the intervals, small. So I will start a little bit softer and stay softer. Even here, this. So he's playing with these second, thirds intervals. Same gesture as we discussed from the very beginning. It makes the music more. So try a little bit of this more with more vibration, more proud. Expressive as possible when you have this. And even this one of the same. And then actually here. Building, so maybe not to. You see, when you see the. Okay, this is very difficult to translate. When you see the terping in Chopin, it does not mean crescendo. It means time. It's like about time. In fact, he writes crescendo. So this is really like telling us rubato.
Wonderful, Sandro. Tell us a little bit about this masterclass, where it took place, and
Lots of things. I was laughing because I remember that when this very talented Korean girl had the master class, actually she had to play the piece the evening, the second day at the Wild Recital Hall for this concert. And I remember telling her, well, you know, I have to tell you everything that obviously you're here for, but please don't put into practice, don't even try. After the concert, then when you go back to Korea, then you think about this. So that was, I mean, they should have arranged the master class after, but it wasn't
yeah,
possible. And so it was a rather unusual situation for the poor girl that had to, listen to me and then the day after play the piece the way that she has always played, obviously.
yeah,
Uh,
wonderful. We have a next recording of another masterclass on Scrabble Fantasy. Take a look.
From the very beginning, I will create more of this yearning picture. It's not something very definitive yet, but it's like troubled in the mood. So here we have to really delve into darkness, and I will also use the left pedal because this darkens the sound quite a bit. You play this with one hand. I used to play this with two hands. It gives me more control. So let's build a little bit more. So this is really the main important thing. This is more like, maybe we could call it, well, it has thematic connotations, but maybe like a sort of an introduction within the first theme. Can we try a little bit first darken the sound? Okay, wait, but this is however, sorry, like we're sort of the same. More softly to the key. Yeah. More crescendo though. Yes. And here, okay, two elements are very important. One is actually this which sometimes I know I did this too when I learned the piece. I used to do it, but it's actually so this acciaccatura, it's not it's so the music has like this impulse. And now, I remember when I played this piece for one of my first grade teachers, a Russian teacher from the school of Neuhaus and Naumov, he asked me to play this with different types of rubato. He wanted me to play this with like 10 different types of rubato. Okay, and at some point I do so it's very important to practice really ways of speech, because this is the most important element. There is this element of despair. It's like a declaration, or it's maybe a question. So the music is such a dramatic gesture. So maybe try to find something a little bit more meaningful than just in the shape of this. Shall we try it from there?
Wonderful. Tell us a little bit about this masterclass.
Well, obviously, this piece in particular really brought back many memories of when I played this work at a pretty young age for actually one of my first wonderful teachers who, as I said to the girl, it was a Russian teacher that I met in Italy when I was still in my teens, and I brought this Scriabin fantasy to his class. And I remember really one of those life-changing lessons. So in a way, I felt also like giving this young pianist something that when I was her age, more or less, I also received with so much, intensity, and also it's like one of those things that stirs something in your musicianship. So it really brought back very special memories, and also now I'm thinking, because I recently returned to this piece after quite a long time, and I was thinking also maybe I should watch the master class, making sure that I can do what I was telling
Yeah.
the girl to do.
Yes.
um,
Where was it?
the master class, this one was in Korea, in this very important institution for young musicians, the High School for the Performing Arts, the Seoul High School for the arts.
Wonderful. We're now moving on to dialogue. I had sent you some questions so we can begin. So tell us about your journey as a musician. Start from your childhood, perhaps, your, favorite teachers, maybe your family that influenced who you are today. Go ahead.
Well, those are big questions, and also, I guess in my case, rather unusual because let's say that one thing I remember vividly from my childhood, that I mean my musical aspirations or dreams were somewhat divided between two categories, two worlds. Well, one very earthly and another one very transcendental. I mean, on the one hand, I was a very normal kid growing up in a small town, far from any major musical environment or circle. Uh, what really fascinated me as a child, I mean, speaking about really my musical upbringing, which I don't even feel I had one until a certain age, but I loved so much being outside, being by the country, in the countryside, because actually I grew up my small town, which by the way is San Giovanni Gemini. Your first attempt before was correct. Yes, it's a town at the feet of a mountain, so it's a very countryside, like. And I remember loving so much spending time with nature, in a way that somehow this. Sense of silence, introspection, and listening, I think later became very essential to my relationship with music. Although I don't think that back then those were my intentions, but I think deep down that must have had some kind of influence also in my musicianship. And I mean, spending so much time after school outside, like with the other kids who obviously weren't pursuing music as a career, but neither was I back then. So anyway, I just remember that this sense of freedom, joy, back then was already a dream for me, and to the point of wishing it would never end. But then music gradually stole me away from that simple life. Although nobody ever forced this on me, I guess it just happened naturally. Although, well, my parents for sure did enforce a strong sense of duty about my daily practice from a young age, and I'm ever grateful to that, because otherwise I would have completely neglected it, because probably I was more driven to other things back then than really practicing. um, One thing that had a lot of importance, and for me at a very young age, I guess musically now going to the transcendental dimension of my childhood, is the fact that I entered some of these young musicians competitions from a young age. I think the first one I entered when I was maybe about 10 or so. And one thing that from the very beginning I was exposed in those competitions, which were divided in categories, was listening to the senior pianists play the great, I mean, some of the, at least there was a greater works of the piano literature. Then maybe later I was exposed also to some of the true masterpieces. And I remember that this actually had such a strong impact on me, in the sense that those wonderful works revealed something to me about music, which after all must have been really embedded in my DNA somehow. I kind of woke up something which I guess was very much part of my nature. And I think I cannot say that I knew I wanted to be a pianist back then, but I think maybe I knew I wanted to be at least part of that world. That, let's say, I very much loved those works, and I was certainly dreaming of playing them. But the real challenge was that back then I didn't have certainly the technical maturity, or, as a matter of fact, even the right guidance to approach most of that repertoire I heard. So for quite a long time, those pieces remained really like in the world of dreams for me, and trying to understand somehow how I would ever be able to get there. And well, in those times, I think I had to do really a lot of that. heavy lift by myself, trying to steal as much as possible from the great pianists that I heard in person. No, no, I mean, well, not so many of the really legends. I was really not exposed to actually the concert live to the point of hearing live, some of the greatest pianists, with one exception though. That I will get to in a second, but maybe back then I was listening quite a lot to records. Maybe if I was lucky, I would catch a concert on television and observe, everything I could about, what makes the performance so great, why this is, so revelatory. Even, I mean, technically, I remember being very observant of certain things. No, I guess the first really major live performance I experienced was still in my early teens when actually back then I'm talking about late 80s when I heard Pogorelic live. He was still in his prime back then, and I remember this concert was really something that taught me, like, okay, really take practice seriously. You have to really work so hard if you even want to, hope to reach something of such height. Because really, that concert, I remember so vividly what he did to me. And the interesting thing, however, is that I remember very well what he played, everything, even how he played certain things. But then in more recent years, I also heard live performances, I mean, recording from those times when I heard him play. And it's funny because now I disagree with so many things. Probably back then, I guess the impact of the live performance was really so strong on me. But of course, musically now it's a different story. um, so, I mean, I guess I discovered a lot of things by myself, but there was this very strong sense of drive toward music, and the fact that, again, I wanted to um, get to playing those works that revealed themselves to me so strongly from a young age. Um, so, I mean, at least you asked me before about my dreams aspiration. I hope I've answered your question about that, because the question obviously is more complex when we get also into the teachers, the first teachers and later teachers I had.
Wonderful. So talk a little bit about your current performing and teaching schedules and more. I know you run different events and organize different concerts, etc. Talk about your life today.
Well, I try not to think of my career in terms of a fixed schedule, because music rarely works that way, in my opinion. Each season brings different opportunities, concerts, teaching projects, collaborations, festivals. And I try to respond to what feels meaningful and artistically honest in the moment. Some periods, of course, are more performance centered, while others allow more time for master classes, learning new repertoire, and working on some recording projects. So, in general, I keep myself always motivated by something, and if not, I try to find the motivation. I mean, if I don't have some obvious motivations, obviously I try to find one. I do value the flexibility, because also it keeps me connected to the reality of being a musician, rather than following a rigid plan about things. I mean, the goal ultimately is pretty much the same, whatever the engagement is, whether it's a recital, a master class, even a church service. I want to make the most out of it and give my absolute commitment, the best of myself I can to that. And well, maybe my teaching schedule, somehow I try to keep it quite light because teaching can also be very draining in terms of your energies. When it's very good because you want to give so much, sometimes maybe more ordinary because you also have to be more of a mechanic of the music depending who you're teaching. So regardless of the level of teaching, I guess many hours of it can really take, of course, a lot of those precious energies I still invest mostly on my daily work, my practice. And so I think flexibility is a very important keyword for that for me.
Wonderful. Talk about young musicians today and what is important in today development of young musicians.
Well, that's another huge question because nowadays I see that many aspiring pianists have really very, very big uh, ambitions and goal from a young age, or maybe their parents. But I think the music should first of all be a journey of constant discover and personal growth. What worries me today with many young musicians that they place the center of their artistic identity too much in winning competitions, and as if that result alone could define their worth. So this part worries me quite a bit. Of course, competitions can be useful. They can provide motivation, discipline, and the opportunity to keep a large scale repertoire at a very high level. What concerns me is when the artistic soul becomes too dependent on that mechanism, because competitions are far from being a perfect science, and I think I'm being very polite saying that, considering the many problems that they present, even in the best case scenarios. I mean, there are so many factors involved, and it's very risky for young musicians to place so much of their um, you know motivations, goals, and ultimate targets in that. I mean, music is an art of communication, not a sport, and this already exposes competitions for what they are, because in music there is really nothing to compete. I mean, one has his own ideas, and of course, if these ideas have something of a certain authenticity, importance to say, as long as, of course, we are also respectful of the composer intentions, that we are able to obviously turn the printed score into a work of art in performance, and of course at the same time make some room for our uh, individualism, which of course there is always room for that in a performance. But then when the level is very high, everything becomes like a universe of its own. I think there are no parameters why this would be put to the trial of a competition, and that's what I meant by not being a perfect science in the first place. And again, I'm not even talking about other factors, which of course nowadays can also spoil competition altogether. I mean, juries, politics, and again, that's why the matter becomes too complex to the point it's better not to delve too much into that. But anyway, also young musicians, regardless of whether they may succeed at conquering the gold, the competition, I think they should place a lot of importance on developing a real artistic voice, which is something that comes as a result of the life experience. And this is something that, I mean, working on this, it's a process which again requires time, requires a range of experience, which goes far beyond the competition itself. And also, I think it's very important that young pianists protect their curiosity and freedom even to make mistakes, not only the technical ones, but the artistic and personal ones as well, without feeling that their future depends on every decision they make at such a young age. This is the case when young musicians win an important competition so early and everything immediately they embark on major careers and there is very little room left for that. And I think this paradoxically blocks also part of that development, which is no longer taking place in a regular time frame, but immediately it gets like locked into some kind of I don't know, shell of expectations of you know, it's a circuit where you are actually no longer able to leave it so naturally and again with so much room for experiments, for also trying things, but of course everything is expected to be um, like a finished product, which I think is musically very difficult to accomplish. And also, when you reach such levels as at the in your early 20s, let's say, then it also another big question is what is left to reach later in your musical life. And this is another question that sometimes as in fact I think generated huge crisis in the careers of very young winners of this important competition. So I think of course yes, I'm not obviously diminishing the importance of preparing them for them in keeping these very high standards, but of course it requires a lot of coaching from whether it's teachers or mentors, any kind of important figures in the life of young musicians. So
Yeah, wonderful. I was thinking as you were speaking, I was thinking maybe some festivals should have, and festivals should compete maybe with competitions, and maybe festivals should have some kind of a platform where let's say participants would win a scholarship to a conservatory, or would win some kind of a, so they'd be motivated to participate in more festivals rather than necessarily competitions.
yes,
Yeah, so that might maybe something that this could be a better way to proceed as far as different platforms that exist today. Yeah, and
definitely,
yeah,
definitely sounds
wonderful.
more
My
nurturing
last
way.
my last question. What makes you most proud in your path?
Not so much. There aren't really so many things. I'm proud of, uh, of having done. Really, maybe one thing, perhaps, if you really ask me the question, is I guess not to have followed the path that was too predetermined or conventional. So, well, we're talking about competitions before, and I think. One problem I have with them also that they generate a path which is certainly nowadays conventional and almost predetermined in the sense of how many expectations go into that, and then the path gets set to a point that really there is no escape almost. But I guess there were many mistakes in my musical journey, uncertainties, detours, and I guess those experience forced me to understand myself more honestly, and again to become a better mechanic of myself, to understand what I have to fix in my playing as a person, in my choices, and of course that's something that's still going on. Obviously, it's a process that never ends. So I guess really it's the fact somehow to manage to survive within my musicianship, but with a certain degree of freedom and to have never really being stuck to any set road, anything that anybody or myself really created for me.
Wonderful.
Maybe.
Thank you so much, Sandro. We're
Of
moving
course.
on to our next video, which is another masterclass with Sandro on Liszt Dante Sonata. Take a look.
So here we have to be very observant of Liszt dynamic and all the indications, which I think are amazingly precise.
더 관찰적이고 더 자세하게 좀 세분화시켜서 연주를 해야
You
돼요.
see, this is really not going anywhere. It's a little crescendo, but I think this is more of a not crescendo of sound in terms of volume, but more like an indication of this lamentoso. You understand what lamentoso means? Uh-huh. So this represents like the whining. It's the whining. Okay, I mean you're it's like the whining of the damned souls.
Tearing, like so
Well,
sad.
whining is a sound of the damned souls. That's exactly in the intent of this music. So it's supposed to sound like by whining.
징징거리다. 흐느끼다.
Very little, because at the moment that if you do this too much, we lose the line. The difficulty of this whole part is to keep the line long.
더 넓은 프레이즈를 위해서
Yes.
약간 더 애절하게.
So you don't want to do anything that breaks the line. You want to be very consistent.
뭔가 부드러워야 돼서. 일관되게 연주.
So this is one very big challenge of this piece. There is another big challenge, which is of course the pedal, the long pedal, and make sure that we always hear da 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 da, because sometimes your repetition of the left hand wasn't very clear, and I heard almost. Yeah, but there's some energy in this rhythm. Obviously, like here you can't just put the pedal down and leave it because it will not work. So you have to constantly keep the pedal down, but always make some micro adjustments of it, because otherwise it will be too much already.
조금 더 세분화시켜서 조절을 해볼 수 있냐고 하시네요.
Like a vibrato pedal, because Liszt wrote one pedal, but he didn't write how much pedal. Maybe we need to use also a little bit less pedal.
페달을 더 적게 사용할 수도 해야 될 수도 있다고 그건 한번 조절할 수.
So as softly as possible.
부드럽게 최대한 부드럽게.
Wonderful. Tell us a little bit about this masterclass. Where did it take place?
Oh, this was in Daejeon, which is a Korean city, last year, actually. It was in one of these piano showrooms. I forgot. But anyway, one of the. Actually, it was a Steinway, I believe, a Steinway showroom, despite the piano wasn't a Steinway. And yeah, I mean, this was also another a wonderful masterclass because I felt I was teaching a piece that was one of my war horses, and so of course it makes me feel better when I have a range of experience teaching a piece, which obviously I have lived on my own skin, and give that of course all of that in maybe 1 hour lesson. it's of course very difficult, but I think that the students, though, they feel that you're trying to give so much, and I could um, feel certainly how eager this student in particular was to realize certain things and incorporate new things in his playing, actually. So it's this energy that works both ways in this kind of master classes, and it's also for me very inspiring. It's also like a mirror for me. Teaching this piece is really like also learning it at the same relearning it at the same time.
Wonderful. We have another video of a masterclass on Ravel levels. Take a look.
Oh, easy piece.
You need to have again this lilt, always lilting. Lilting. It's like this 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. This swing. Yeah.
약간 첫박 강박과 양박을
Yes.
잘
It
살려서
never
춤추는
stops.
것처럼.
It never stops until the distraction of the waltz later. It's a secondary thing. If you do too loud, we lose focus on the main on the main melody.
거기는 좀 부드럽게 해서 왜냐면 거기는 부수적인 요소에 속해요. 그래서 그게 메인 요소를 방해하면 안 됩니다.
Yeah, so still keep it within the character, within the mood that we are establishing. So here again, maybe even more rubato. Why not? So we just start from here. Yes. I think you're fine. Yeah, maybe it's a little bit more meaningful.
조금 더 의미.
Like violins. Not here, a little bit too much. More shape. Yeah, bravo. Yes, please. Okay, so very good, very good. Just a few things still concerning the character of this pianist was. Here, I think that also so a little bit more suspension. It's a little bit more like brass.
근관악기처럼.
Yes. This is not, again, it's not orchestral and it doesn't fit the character to do. Because just imagine, if you conduct, how would you do that? Ti, ta, 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 ta. It's impossible. It's like tutti, yon, pa, 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 pa. And then you look at the oboe.
Wonderful.
Wow.
Yes, tell us about this masterclass. Where was it?
A roller coaster of this piece. This was actually in the Steinway Hall in Seoul, where I also gave a recital there the few days before this event. Yes, and I taught, I think, there a total of 4 or 5 students. They were really all wonderful, wonderful, and amazing talents. But the thing that, of course, at this young age, take like this boy playing La Valse, it's obviously natural to feel more drawn to the virtuoso side of the piece, the more flashy piece. So I think they very much they welcome also so much, our insights on the aesthetics of the piece, and especially, I mean, such complexity in that piece. I mean, there's the element of the Viennese waltz. It's an orchestral piece. It's really totally daunting to master, but the kid was extremely talented and natural. And then the other thing, they learn these pieces like weeks before bringing them to the lesson. They learn at this amazing speed. So like in a few weeks they can pull off a piece like La Valse.
Yeah. Wonderful. We're now moving on to a picture gallery. And you tell us a little bit about each one.
Oh, okay. Oh, this was a concert in Korea, but years before. I think, yeah. And this was the master class which I gave a few years ago in Scarsdale, where you heard the Polonaise Fantasy before at the beginning. Oh gosh, this was a concert in Recital Hall. This was several years ago, definitely, maybe 2010. I think this was the Chopin Schumann double anniversary concert in 2010, I believe. Oh, and this is a photo with one of my beloved teachers, Seymour Bernstein, who actually passed away very recently at the age of 99. And this is a photo actually that speaks by itself, because Seymour was always very supportive of my musical development, and would often come whenever he could to my concert. And this was, I don't remember where the concert was, but I remember coming to one of my concerts, and we took this photo afterwards. And you can it's really like a photo that speaks so much by itself, that doesn't even require my commentary, in the sense of being full of this so genuine, and so very much reflects in Seymour's expression who he was as a mentor. This was the master class I gave in the Seoul art school, where you heard before one of the girls playing the Scriabin Fantasy. Uh, yes, last year. Oh, this is from the recent anniversary concert, 40th anniversary concert for Sumi Jo's career. We did this concert a few weeks ago at Zankel Hall.
Fantastic. I love all the pieces that you gave masterclass on today.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
very, very monumental pieces, and such a responsibility to teach them to these young musicians.
absolutely. Absolutely. And we have another video of Sandro performing Alexander Rosenblatt, variations on a theme of Paganini. Take a look. Wonderful. Very nice to reconnect with you, Sandro. Thanks so much for joining us today. And thanks to
Thank
everyone
you.
for joining us at this broadcast. And we wish you a wonderful start of the summer and productive lessons, masterclasses, performances. And thanks so much for watching.
Bye bye.
Bye.